You know that feeling when you're technically part of a family, but you still feel like you're just visiting. That was me. I'm Madison, youngest of 5, born into chaos, raised in the cracks. They had this perfect little group. My siblings, Dylan, the golden child lawyer, Brett, everyone's favorite doctor, Caroline, Instagram, perfect mom, and Nate, the cool startup dude. And then, me. The oops baby, the tag-along, the afterthought. They were all so much older, like I was 6 when Nate graduated high school. They'd already formed a whole separate life. Inside jokes, shared traumas, collective memories I just wasn't part of. I used to tell myself it was just the age gap. That one day when I was older, things would click into place. Spoiler alert, they never did. The first time it stung, I was 10. Dylan was getting married to some Pinterest-looking woman in Napa Valley. Big fancy wedding vineyard vibes, custom cocktails, the whole thing. I was so freaking excited. Like I asked my mom if I could wear her perfume for the day. I picked out a sparkly little dress from Macy's that I thought made me look older. Then one night, a week before the wedding, my parents sat me down at the kitchen table. My mom was holding a cup of tea. That alone should have been a red flag. She only does that when she's about to say something crappy, but wants to look soft. Sweetie Dylan's wedding is adults only. WTF. I stared at her. But I'm his sister. I'm not some random cousin's baby. She gave me this pity smile. It's just the vibe they're going for, honey. You'll understand when you're older. I didn't. Not then. I sobbed into my pillow all night while they were out getting drunk on expensive wine and smiling for photos I was never going to be in. And guess what? No one brought it up when they got back. Not even Dylan. Fast forward. I'm 12 and a pro at pretending not to care. Brett's wedding. Same deal. Different excuse. Adults only again. Except now I was 2 years older, more quiet, more polite, more desperate for them to see I wasn't just a kid anymore. Still no invite? Still no explanation? I didn't cry this time. I just shut down. That was the first time I remember thinking, oh, maybe this isn't just about my age. Maybe they just don't give a damn. 15 years old. Caroline's turn. This one hurt the most. See, Caroline wasn't even planning a child-free wedding at first. It was going to be at this beautiful house her husband's family owned, with a big backyard and fairy lights and mason jars everywhere. Super love is homemade vibes. I was 15. 15. 1 year away from her arbitrary adult line. At first, she said I could come. But then my aunt started yapping about how kids ruin the vibe, and suddenly I was chopped from the guest list like a wilted garnish. I begged her. I literally said, Caroline, please, I'll be quiet. I won't even sit at a kid's table. She gave me this fake, deep, condescending look and said if I make an exception for you, it wouldn't be fair to the other kids. What other kids? I was her sister. I cried in the bathroom again, and when I raised my voice about it, I got grounded for 6 months for causing drama. No one comforted me. No one pulled me aside and said, I know this sucks. I wish it were different. I was the problem, always. By the time I was 17, I didn't even ask anymore. Nate's wedding. Yeah, didn't even register. They posted the invites on Instagram before I even heard about it. At that point, I was just numb. Not shocked, not angry, just done. They had a neat little rule, no one under 18. Amanda, my cousin, was invited. She had turned 18 literally 2 months before. I was 17 and 10 months. But hey, gotta draw the line somewhere, right? I remember sitting in my room that night, scrolling through their wedding posts and feeling hollow. Like watching someone else's life you were almost a part of. Almost, but not quite. Years passed, and I learned to stop hoping. I moved to Austin. Got into UX design, made friends who actually wanted to spend time with me, started therapy, started cooking meals that made me feel like a person. And eventually I met Eli, the first man who listened, really listened, when I told him about my family. One night I casually mentioned I'd never been to a single one of my siblings' weddings. And he just stared at me. Wait, not even Caroline's when you were 15. Nope. That's fucked up, Madison. I'm sorry, but that's seriously fucked. I laughed, not because it was funny, because no one had ever said that out loud before. That was the moment I realized it really wasn't normal. That all those years of me telling myself they didn't mean it, or maybe I was being dramatic, were just survival tactics. They excluded me, again and again and again, and when I finally stopped showing up emotionally, they called me distant. Then came my turn. The wedding that changed everything. When Eli proposed, I didn't cry from joy. I cried from relief. Like maybe finally this day my day would be safe. I told him up front, "They're not invited." "Good," he said. "You don't owe them SRT." And that's when I made the call. No invites, no drama, just silence. I left their names off the list. No Facebook announcement, no family email. Just me, Eli, and a guest list of people who actually gave a damn. I knew it would blow up eventually, but I figured let it. Let them know what it feels like. 2 months before the wedding, the first ripple hit. I was sitting on my balcony with Eli sipping cheap rosé out of mugs because our wine glasses were still in a moving box somewhere. My phone buzzed. It was my mom. And immediately I knew. She never calls just to chat. It's either bad news, guilt-tripping, or both. I answered with a hesitant, "Hey, Mom." She was all cheery, fake upbeat voice. "Hi, sweetie. How are wedding plans coming?" Right, because now suddenly she cared. I told her things were good. "Almost done," I said, trying to sound chill. But I could hear the tension building in her silence. Then she dropped it. "So, your siblings haven't gotten their invitations yet. Did you already send them out?" My stomach tightened. I could have lied, blamed the mail, played dumb. But something in me snapped. "Yeah," I said. "I sent them. I didn't invite them." The silence that followed was Olympic level. Like if quiet could slap you in the face, this was it. "You..." "What?" Her voice cracked. Not from emotion, from disbelief. Because to her this was unfathomable. The youngest saying, "No, never." "I didn't invite them," I repeated clearer this time. "They didn't think I was important enough to be at their weddings." "I'm just doing the same." And then came the guilt trip tsunami. "That was different, Madison. You were a kid. You think they meant to hurt you. You're being spiteful. This is your family." I felt heat crawl up my neck. I knew this conversation was coming, but I wasn't ready for how fast it would unravel. "They excluded me 4 times. "Mom," I snapped. No one apologized. No one checked in. And now you want to act shocked that I'm setting a boundary. "Screw that." She gasped like I'd cursed at God. "What will people think?" There it was, her favorite line. Not, "How do you feel?" Not, "Let's talk this through." Just, "What will people think?" "I don't care what people think," I said, voice flat. "This is my wedding. I'm not performing family for a bunch of people who didn't even treat me like a human being growing up." She hung up on me. I stood there for a minute staring at the call-ended screen, heart racing, and just said to Eli, "Well." That went about how I thought it would. He slid me his mug of wine and said, "You want the good glass or the rest of the bottle?" That night it began. Rachel Caroline texted first, all breezy and fake friendly. "Hey, Mads, we think the invites got lost in the mail. Should we be worried?" Brett the doctor followed. "Hey, Mom said we're not invited. What's going on?" I didn't respond. I just left them all on red. Because what the hell was I supposed to say? "Hi, sorry, I was invisible. My entire childhood. Hope you're free for the open bar." Nah. A few days later, my phone blew up again. This time it was a group text. Yes. A literal group chat of the siblings who couldn't be bothered to include me in anything for years. Nate. "You're really doing this for real." Caroline. "We're your family." Madison. "I don't understand where this is coming from." Brett. "It's not too late to fix this, but this is really immature." I stared at the screen, fuming. How dare they? The gaslighting was unreal. Eli looked over my shoulder and said, "Don't reply. Let them sit in it." He was right. I didn't reply. I didn't owe them a damn thing. That weekend, my parents showed up at our apartment, uninvited, because of course they did. I opened the door in gym shorts and an oversized hoodie with no bra. No energy for this SJE. My mom walked in like she owned the place. My dad hovered behind her, arms crossed, already mad. "Madison, what are you thinking?" she started. "Not inviting your own siblings to your wedding. What kind of daughter does that?" I leaned against the counter and took a slow breath. "The kind who wasn't invited to their weddings," I said. "You really don't see the hypocrisy here." My dad jumped in. "That was years ago. You were a teenager. You're punishing them for something they didn't mean to do." "Exactly," I snapped. "I was a teenager, begging to be included, and instead of protecting me, you told me to suck it up." My mom's voice wobbled. "They didn't mean it, Maddie. They just didn't know better." "Then they should have apologized," I said coldly. But they didn't. They just moved on and expected me to forget. She started crying. Big dramatic sobs like this was a soap opera. You're tearing this family apart. I looked her dead in the eyes. No, you did that when you taught 4 kids that I didn't matter. I'm just finally saying it out loud. Eli came and stood next to me, hand on my back, calm and solid. I think this conversation's over, he said gently but firmly. They left in silence. My mom glared at Eli like he was Satan. My dad didn't say goodbye. I didn't cry. Not even a little. Over the next week, the fallout spread like wildfire. Caroline posted on Facebook, "Family is forever," even when people forget what that means. Cute. Nate posted an Instagram story of him holding a beer with the caption, "To the real ones who show up, no invites needed." I laughed so hard, I almost choked on my cereal. These people were acting like I burned down their house. All I did was not send them a piece of paper. The most unhinged moment, though. Rachel threw a dinner party the same night as my wedding. A literal family-only gathering with a catered spread and a post about choosing love. One of my cousins, the few I actually like, texted me. "Hey, I think your family's throwing a pity party on your wedding night. Just FYI. It's weird." I wasn't even mad. I was impressed. The level of petty was Olympic. One night I was scrolling through the chaos, and Eli just shook his head. "They're not mad because they weren't invited," he said. "They're mad because they didn't get to make the rules." That hit me straight in the gut. Because yeah, that's exactly it. They spent years setting the terms. And now that I took control, they couldn't handle it. And I wasn't even doing anything explosive. I wasn't exposing anyone or screaming on social media. I just opted out. I didn't burn bridges. I just walked away from a house that was already ashes. I'll tell you what, though. Planning a wedding without all that toxic crap, a dream. No forced family photos. No awkward seating charts. No pretending. Just me, Eli, my best friends, a few good cousins, and the people who chose to show up. That's what made it worth it. And I wasn't done yet. Last week before the wedding, I woke up with this weird feeling in my chest. Not panic exactly, more like anticipation, but the bitter kind. Like you're waiting for a storm and you can smell the pressure in the air. I'd blocked half my family by then. Rachel and Brett were gone from everything. Facebook, Instagram, even Venmo, because yes, they were still sending me $1 passive-aggressive payments after I blocked them elsewhere. I figured I'd muted most of the noise. But I forgot about the extended family. That morning, my Aunt Linda called. I hadn't spoken to her in years. She's the type who shows up to baby showers just to judge the cake and whisper gossip into her wine glass. I picked up out of morbid curiosity. "Madison, honey," she started in that sticky, sweet voice that always meant bullshit was about to follow. "I just don't understand why you're doing this to your family." "Ah, so we're not even pretending this is a social call. Cool. Doing what exactly I asked?" "Not inviting your siblings. It's so cruel, sweetheart. They're devastated." I almost laughed. Were they devastated when they banned me from every wedding growing up? Pause. That was different. You were young. You didn't understand. "Oh, I understood just fine," I said. "I understood that I wasn't important enough to be there." She sighed like I was the problem. "Madison, being the bigger person, means letting things go. You can't hold on to grudges forever." "Being the bigger person isn't about eating shit for dessert," I snapped. "It's about knowing when to walk away." She didn't like that. I heard her breath catch, like she was gearing up for a monologue. So I hung up. 2 days before the wedding, I got the dumbest email of my life. From Dylan. Yes, Dylan. The sibling who started it all, the first one, to leave me off a guest list, and then pretend I didn't exist afterward. Subject line, "Let's talk." No punctuation. Classic Dylan. Inside was a mini novel. No apology, of course. Just a long-winded ramble about family unity and rising above petty hurts. He even quoted some Bible verse about forgiveness, which was hilarious, considering the man once threatened to sue Brett over a disputed vacation rental. The kicker. "You're hurting Mom. You need to fix this." "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm hurting her." Not the years of ignoring me, gaslighting me, making me feel like a damn shadow in my own family. Not her showing up to my apartment uninvited to cry about her reputation. Cool. I deleted the email. No response, no energy. I was so far past caring it wasn't even rage anymore. It was just dust. Like the kind you blow off a shelf when you finally throw something out. The night before the wedding, my cousin Jess slept over. She brought me gummy bears and tiny wine bottles and a playlist called Big Day No Bullshit. We curled up on the couch in matching pajamas while I tried to distract myself with Love is Blind. And of course the texts kept coming. This time it was my mom again. Your father isn't eating. He's very upset. Everyone's asking why your siblings aren't invited. We don't know what to say. It's not too late, Maddie, please. You'll regret this. I showed Jess. She rolled her eyes so hard I thought she'd fall off the couch. Wow, she said. They're really pulling the grieving parents card, huh? They always do this, I muttered. I say I'm hurt, and suddenly I'm the villain, again. Jess reached for the wine. You're not the villain. You're just not playing by their script anymore. The morning of the wedding hit like a wave. I expected to feel anxious or jittery or even sad, but I didn't. I felt grounded. I woke up in my own bed. Eli was already gone off with his groomsmen to some donut shop downtown. Jess had made coffee. I put on my robe, stepped onto the balcony, and just stood there. It was quiet, not the kind of silence that screams, the kind that holds you gently. I thought this is what peace feels like. And then I got the call. From the venue. Hi, Madison. We just wanted to let you know. There's a woman here asking about you. Says she's your sister. I froze. Which one? Caroline, I think. She's asking to come inside. Says she just wants to talk. My stomach turned to ice. I took a deep breath. Don't let her in. I'm not joking. Don't even let her near the tent. They hesitated. Okay, got it. Just wanted to check. I hung up and stared at my phone like it was cursed. Caroline. The one who told me she couldn't make an exception for me at her wedding because it wouldn't be fair to the other kids. The one who posted a cryptic Bible quote when I got engaged without telling anyone. She had the audacity to show up the day of, I told Jess. Her reaction was immediate. We ride at dawn. We laughed. Hard. Like really hard. Like ugly crying laughter. And just like that, the tension snapped. When we got to the venue, it was everything I dreamed of. String lights, wood tables, a little garden tucked behind the main hall with twinkle lights and wildflowers everywhere. The air smelled like lavender and anticipation. I stood in front of the mirror, fully dressed, veil pinned, makeup done. Jess came up behind me and whispered, They're not here. I checked. You're safe. I nodded. Even if they were, they wouldn't be part of this. You nervous? She asked. Weirdly, no. Sad. I hesitated. A little, but not for me. For who they could have been. She didn't say anything, just squeezed my hand. The ceremony was perfect. Eli looked at me like I was the whole damn sky. Our friends cheered like drunk angels. The vows hit like home. I cried, not because I was sad, because I finally felt seen, fully. When the officiant said, You may kiss the bride, I felt this wave of heat and freedom roll through me. Like I'd spent my entire life asking for a seat at someone else's table, and now I'd built my own. And it was beautiful. At the reception, while people were dancing and laughing and taking Polaroids, I snuck away for a second, just to breathe. And that's when I saw it. On my phone. A post from Caroline. A dinner table, candles, cake. Her smiling with my other siblings. Captioned, Family is everything, especially when people forget. Underneath a swarm of so beautiful and true comments from her followers. I felt something twist inside me, but it wasn't pain. It was validation. I didn't respond. I didn't repost. I didn't react. I just closed the app and went back inside. To my real family. The one I chose. The one that chose me. 2 weeks after the wedding, I thought things would settle down. I honestly believed the chaos would fade like aftershocks from an earthquake. People would bitch gossip, post some more cryptic stories, then move on with their curated little lives. But no, they escalated. Because apparently, choosing peace is also an act of war when you come from a family that thrives on unspoken rules and fake appearances. The first red flag. A random email from some cousin I hadn't heard from since middle school. One of those I don't want to get involved, but messages. Always a good sign. He wrote, Hey, not taking sides, but your mom's really upset. She's saying you've cut the family off, and it's breaking her. Just thought you should know. Hope we can all find peace. Translation. They're talking mad shit, and making sure everyone hears their version first. I didn't respond. I didn't even open it again. But of course it didn't stop there. A few days later, Eli told me someone tried to tag him in a Facebook post. He doesn't even really use Facebook. It was a blurry group photo from Caroline's alternative wedding dinner. Yes, that's what they're calling it now with the caption, When family shows up even when they weren't invited, at blessed Rehearsals. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just about the wedding anymore. They weren't sad I didn't invite them. They were furious I didn't need them. And now they were on a full-blown PR campaign to spin it like I was the ungrateful one, like I was the problem. Because in their world, love is conditional. You keep quiet. You show up when it looks good. You don't call out the rot, you decorate it with hashtags and matching outfits. Not me, not anymore. Later that week, my dad texted me. Just 2 words, your mom. No punctuation, no explanation. I stared at it for a solid minute before typing back, what about her? He replied, she's been crying every day. She's sick over this. You're killing her. I stared at that one for longer. And then I typed, she was silent when I cried at 10, 12, 15, and 17. She didn't even ask why. Let her feel something now. Then I blocked his number. Because that was the thing, no one had ever allowed me to be hurt without being punished for it. I was supposed to be quiet when they excluded me. I was supposed to smile when I was left out. I was supposed to get over it when I was too sensitive. But now that I finally said, enough, I was the monster. Nah, not anymore. That Friday, I met up with my best friend Jess for lunch. I hadn't told her about the latest round of guilt bombs yet, but as soon as I sat down, she gave me a look. You saw the TikTok, right? She asked. I blinked. What TikTok? She slid her phone across the table. It was a video Caroline posted of all people. A slow montage of childhood photos, her hugging Brett, her holding Nate's hand, at a park Dylan reading to her on the couch. Music playing softly in the background, the kind of nostalgic sound that makes people cry over puppy adoption ads. Text overlay. I've always believed in family, even when others forget what that means. I sat there stunned. Then I laughed. Wow, I said. She really made a sob story out of cutting her sister out of her wedding and getting mad when it happened to her. Jess shook her head. The comments are eating it up. Bunch of strangers saying she's so strong for holding the family together. Of course they were. The internet loves a blonde with a filter and a violin soundtrack. I went home that night and scrolled through the comments myself. People calling me petty. Some even finding my account to DM me crap like, how could you do that to your own siblings? You'll regret this when your parents are gone. Don't let a wedding destroy your family. I didn't reply, but I wanted to scream, I'm not the one who destroyed it. I'm the one who finally walked out of the fire. One message did catch me off guard, though. It was from my cousin, Leela. We used to be close when we were little, but she moved away and we drifted. Her message was short, but it hit hard. I just wanted to say, I saw what they did. I remember. I was there. You deserved better. I'm sorry no one stood up for you then. I'm proud of you now. I cried reading that, not because it fixed anything, but because it was the first time someone from inside the family didn't try to guilt me or pretend it didn't happen. They remembered. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't the only one who noticed. That weekend, Eli and I had a few friends over. Casual backyard thing. Music tacos, beer laughter that actually sounded like it belonged. At one point, I stepped away to get more napkins, and I just stopped, looked around, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Safe. No pretending. No what will they think. No tiptoeing. I used to believe family was supposed to feel like that. Turns out it's just supposed to be that. No explanation, no performance. 3 nights later, my mom emailed me. Subject line, olive branch. I rolled my eyes. Inside was a Word doc. Yes, a literal attached Word document. She had written what she called a letter from the heart. It was 6 paragraphs of the most emotionally manipulative crap I'd ever read. Started with, I'm not perfect, but I tried my best. Moved into, you misunderstood your siblings' intentions. Ended with, you'll regret this someday, and I hope I'll still be alive when that day comes. Like it was supposed to be touching. Like it wasn't just another guilt dagger dressed up as a hug. Eli read it and muttered, this is like if a Hallmark movie and a threat had a baby. I didn't reply. I didn't even save the document. I just sat on the couch, watching Eli play with our dog, thinking this is the life they don't get to ruin. Not because I'm cruel, but because I finally stopped asking for scraps. They wanted me to play the villain. They were dying to make me the cold-hearted one, the rebellious daughter, the emotional terrorist who turned her back on family. But I'm not the villain. I'm the boundary. The line they never saw coming. The soft voice they ignored until it got quiet. And in that quiet, I built a whole new world. With people who show up. With people who mean it. 2 months after the wedding, life got real quiet in the best way possible. Not dead air quiet, just peaceful. No buzz of group chats I was never truly part of. No cold calls, disguised as checking in. No forced family holidays, where I'd spend the entire time trying to shrink myself small enough not to offend anyone. It was the kind of quiet that meant freedom. Eli and I got into a rhythm. We'd make breakfast on Sundays, go thrifting for weird art. We didn't argue about whether we needed more throw pillows we did. We were building a life brick by brick, and none of it required permission from people who had spent my entire childhood treating me like I was optional. Then came Rachel, again. She messaged me from a different number. Her old one was blocked. Mads, I don't know if you'll see this, but I needed to try. I'm hurting. I miss you. I know you think we were trying to hurt you when we didn't invite you to the weddings, but that's not what it was. We just didn't think you'd care back then. You were always kind of distant. Distant. I stared at the message like it had personally spat in my coffee. I almost replied. I typed something snarky like, I wasn't distant. I was excluded. There's a difference. But then I deleted it. Because what's the point of explaining the obvious to people who have spent decades twisting the narrative to make themselves comfortable? She followed it with another text. We were talking and we just think, maybe you've changed. Maybe you've let Tyler get into your head. And there it was. Not accountability, not self-awareness. Blame. Not even on me this time, on Eli. Like I didn't have the emotional capacity to form my own thoughts. Like I couldn't possibly have reached the conclusion that I deserved better all by myself. I handed Eli my phone. He read the message and said flatly, if I'm the reason you've got boundaries now, then I'll happily take the villain edit. God, I love this man. A week later, Caroline posted a photo of my mom on her story. It was some dinner party. Everyone in pastels, wine glasses, raised smiles too perfect to be real. The caption said, missed one seat at the table, but the heartache is always present. Family first, healing in progress. I nearly threw my phone. These people didn't want me back. They wanted control. They wanted me sitting at their table, looking ashamed so they could pat themselves on the back for forgiving me. What they couldn't stand was that I built a table of my own, and mine didn't require a dress code. Later that month, my mom sent one more email, no subject line this time, just a PDF attachment. The file name, Madison, for your consideration PDF. I shot you not. Inside a timeline, a literal timeline. She had compiled screenshots, old family photos, quotes from emails, all in an effort to prove that I hadn't been intentionally excluded. That I was just younger, and they were navigating adult choices. There were circles drawn around guest lists. Comments like, no evidence of malice here. Madison did not express hurt until later. See birthday party 2011 where she received a hug from Caroline. It read like a legal defense document. Eli and I read it like it was a damn Netflix special. I laughed so hard I cried. He was furious. I think it took him 3 tries to get through it without yelling. But honestly, I wasn't even mad. That level of denial, that was sad. Like deeply sad. My mom didn't want to connect. She wanted to win. She didn't want to see me. She wanted to erase the version of me that didn't serve her image. And I was so done playing court stenographer in their fantasy courtroom. I sent one reply. This isn't love, this is PR. I'm done. Blocked her after that. For good this time. A few nights later, Eli and I were watching reruns of New Girl eating cereal at 10 p.m., like the adults we clearly are, and I just kind of blurted out, do you ever think I was too harsh? He didn't pause, didn't blink. No, not for 1 second. I looked at him. But what if I'm wrong? What if they're right, and I'll wake up one day and miss them? He put his spoon down, looked me straight in the eye, and said, then that'll be your choice. But missing them doesn't mean they deserve to be in your life again. And just like that, the knot in my chest loosened a little more. Some nights I still think about it. Not often, but it creeps in. Like when I see wedding photos with full families, or when someone casually says, my sister called today. And I remember what that used to feel like, or what I imagined it would feel like. I grieve the idea of them more than the actual people, because the people, they had years to show up, and they didn't. And I'm finally done making excuses for that. Then came the final blow. The cherry on top of the We're the Real Victims cake. Caroline dropped a podcast episode. Yeah, she has a podcast now, Healing Through Sisterhood or some other disingenuous crap. The episode was titled, Estranged but Not Broken When Your Sibling Cuts You Off. It was 43 minutes of vague statements, half-truths, and veiled references to me. She never said my name, but it was obvious. She told this dramatic story about a sister who chose a man over her blood and rewrote history to justify cruelty. She even said, some people just need to feel like a victim to survive. I was shocked. Not because it was new, but because it was so damn on brand. Victimhood has always been their armor. If they couldn't be the hero, they'd be the wounded martyr. It would be funny if it wasn't so manipulative. And maybe it was that moment, sitting on my couch, listening to someone else twist my story for content, that I realized something important. They would never get it. Not because they couldn't, because they didn't want to. And that was the last missing piece. After that, I stopped looking at their posts. I deleted the folder where I'd saved old texts and screenshots. I stopped checking to see if they were still talking about me, because it didn't matter anymore. They could throw their dinner parties, cry their crocodile tears, post their filtered pain all over the internet. I was done participating. One morning I took out a photo. It was from when I was 8, a birthday party. Everyone else is laughing. I'm in the corner of the shot, looking right at the camera, holding a gift I brought for someone else. No one noticed me in that photo. Back then it broke my heart. Now, I see that little girl and I think, damn, you made it out. You learned to stop chasing tables that never had a seat for you. You built your own. And now you're finally eating.